Okay, so in order to add a curtain wall to this, we're going to start with the manufacturer-generated Revit file. And I got that right from conair.com. And from conair.com on the home page, I'll see at the top here the product button. If I click on that, then over on the left I can click on curtain wall. And then I'll see under curtain wall that I've got several options here. I want the 1600 UT System 2. And that brings up the product page for that curtain wall system. I just click on BIM models. And then if I click on that, it'll download that file in RVT form. So that's going to be a file that just opens up automatically as a project, not as a family file like we saw with various types of windows and furniture items. And then when I get that open, I've got a bit of a slow connection here still, so I'm not going to wait for that. When I open that up in Revit, then I'll see the 6 curtain walls that Conair has generated. And the reason they've got 6 there is because each of them has a subtly different volume dimension, or mullion dimension, sorry. They have different depths. So if I was to click on this one, you'd see that this has got a 6-inch deep mullion, and this one's got something a little different, 7.5, and on and on. The one that we want is the 6 3/4 inch. So just kind of have a look around here. Notice that all the tools are the same. So this is a project environment. This means it's a standalone file. There's not going to be any button here to load into project. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to select the one that I want, which again is this one here, 6 3/4 inch. So I'm going to grab that and hit Control-C to copy it to clipboard. And then I'm just going to swap over to my assignment 4 project file. And using the Modify tab and the Paste button here, I'm going to paste from clipboard and just drop that curtain wall right in. Now, luckily, even though, I don't know if you noticed this back in the file I was in, but that Conair supplied file is actually Imperial. Luckily, Revit kind of makes the adjustment, so I don't have to worry about doing any scaling or anything like that. If I was bringing this into AutoCAD, I'd have to consider that. But it's all ready to go. You can see it's properly proportioned here. It doesn't look like much initially, so I'm going to have to stretch this out and get it to be the right size and dimension and everything else. First thing I got to do, of course, is just rotate it. So I want it to kind of align to this wall. So I'm going to go to my main floor view. And make sure, first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I've got my view range set properly. Sometimes when you do this, perhaps as a result of having worked on the beams, last time we had this project file open, we had a view range that was set really high so we could see those beams underneath the second floor. So just make sure that in your main floor with nothing selected, you'll be able to see the properties for the view over on the right. And under view range, what may have been, a 4400 top and a 4300 cut plane, we want to drop that down and make sure that we're down around 1000 or 2000. So that's set up. That will allow me to see the entire curtain wall with mullions and panels. Next thing I'm going to do is select the curtain wall itself, and I'm just going to rotate it 90 degrees. Make sure that the blue glass panels here are closer to the left side. That just helps me keep them on the outside. Next thing I'm going to do to move those into place in reference to the structural grid line is draw a 2-dimensional detail line that I can find on the Annotate tab, the Detail panel. So click on Detail Line, and I'm just going to draw a line out 272 millimeters, and then just draw straight down. Delete that initial horizontal line. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this curtain wall and just move it to where this is, and I want to line up the outside glass face. So to select the whole thing here, I want to just click on these lines. Notice how I'm hovering to the outside of where the curtain wall is. That allows me to select the entire curtain wall. So I'm going to select that and use the Move tool. And then what I can do here, just using the snaps, is I can use a snap that finds that outside glass face. Click there, and then just drag over to where I'm aligned with that detail line. Okay, and now I can see, if I use the measure tool, that outside glass face is 272 millimeters from the structural grid line. And that allows me to get all that curtain wall assembly away from the beams and the columns, so that it can span from the first floor to the second floor. When that's done, now in plan view again, I'm just going to click on the overall curtain wall, and I'm going to hover over this little blue grip and just drag it down so that it extends for pretty much all of section B and D, and I'll have to shorten up on the top as well. So right for now, I'm just going to place it right on the structural grid line. I'll move it a little bit after. I'm going to kind of leave that up to you to decide exactly where that placement would be based on your drawings from your 360 building. So I've got that placed where I want it horizontally. Now I'm going to switch to a 3D view, and I'm going to make sure that I've got this pulled up to the right height. I can see that it's too low at the moment. So I'm actually going to go from the 3D view to a west or left side elevation view. And I'm going to click on that curtain wall and use the grips and just drag up right to the top of parapet. Okay, I'll see that regenerate, and now it's spanning the full height. I actually want it to come down 150 millimeters from there. So I'll click on the full thing again, and then over in the properties here, at the moment it's got a top constraint that's unconnected, so I'm going to set that to be referenced to the top of parapet. And then I'm going to use the top offset here and knock that down 150, so negative 150. And that will bring it down so that I can put a layer of cap flashing on top of that. So now you'll see it's just a little bit below that level. So I've got it at the right height. I've got it at the right width. So the next step is to just get the to specify the difference between the view glass and the spandrel glass, or the spandrel panels. At the moment, I've got all those panels are transparent, so they are all basically view glass panels. I want to cover up the floor plates and the structural elements and everything above the ceiling. So to do that, I need some spandrel panels. So I'll have to select certain panels and then change them from the default system panel glazed to a system panel solid. So to do that and to make my selections a little easier, I'm going to click on the overall curtain wall, and I will use the little glasses at the bottom here, the temporary hide isolate button. I'm going to click on isolate elements. Now I just get that curtain wall. I don't have to worry about accidentally selecting anything else behind it. And still in my 3D view, I'm going to go to the left side here, and then I'm going to grab everything on the bottom row and hold down Control, select everything 2 rows up from that, and then the top 2 rows on the top. And then I'm going to use my filter and make sure that I've only got panels selected. And now, rather tediously, I have to unpin all these. And once I've got that done, then I can change their type from system panel glazed to system panel solid. So I do that in the type selector window, select solid, and I'm left with that. Now your panels will look a little different. They'll probably come out as gray. I've already done a preset here where I changed the material for the system panel solid to a red metal. So I'll click on the glasses again and reset the temporary hide isolate, and I'm left with this. Next step is to put them in the right place vertically, and to do that I have to access the grid lines. So I'm just going to click on that one, unpin it, set the bottom value to 800, and then I'm going to go to the next grid line above, the horizontal grid line, unpin it again, change the bottom value to 1400, and move up to the next one. Use my tab key if I can't find it, and then just unpin it, and I'll set its value to 3000, and then I'll just keep moving up. I'm going to select that grid line, unpin it, and I'm going to change the value on the bottom here to, say, 1200. I'll go a little higher, I'll go 1400. And then at this point, I'm pretty much done. Although if I don't want that top mullion there, that top set of mullions on the horizontal plane, if I don't want those, I can always just select the grid, unpin it, and then use the add remove segments, and then just work my way down here, clicking on each segment, and that'll eventually get rid of the entire set. And that leaves me with my curtain wall view glass panels and spandrel glass panels. The idea here, of course, is just to put those in the area so that if you imagine somebody standing inside there, that they've got a view roughly, above their head to a little bit below their knees or around their waist. So the ergonomics come into play there. Last thing I'm going to do here is just set the grids in the right place with regards to the planning grid. So on main floor, I've already drawn these detail lines in place. They're 1500 millimeters apart, and they are all lined up here. All the mullions, or the vertical grid lines, are lined up to that planning grid. If they weren't, if I had to make some adjustments there, I'll just copy these four detail lines down to the next structural bay, and I'll check to see if my mullions are lined up, and they are. If they weren't, then I could just click on those grid lines, unpin them, and then I could use my align tool by clicking on the detail line first and then the grid line, and they would snap into place. Okay, and that's how I get my arrangement of panels.